Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome again to yet another edition of Reform Niger Television. We're here on this channel. We broadcast the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ. But we also try to speak to issues that concerns our world, present issues that concerns our world. And there's nobody that is living on our earth today who does not know what is happening in our world. What's the issue? What's the pressing concern? Well, there is a war going on between Israel and Iran. And somebody asked me today, said that, does this thing concern us? I say it does. The reason is because previous or prior to the start of the war, the cost of fuel was 850 naira, at least here in Ibadan. But as the war began, the cost of fuel had gone up by 100 naira. So presently, fuel goes for about 950 in Ibadan city. So if this war does not concern you, it concerns some people like us, at least those of us who buy fuel. Okay. So today I want to discuss some things that concerns this crisis, and I want to invite you to be part of the discussion. Please, you can leave your comment in the comment section anywhere you're reaching us from. We're broadcasting on YouTube, on Facebook, and on X. So please join the broadcast. A few weeks ago, Reno Omokri, a prominent social media personality and now a major beneficiary of the present government in Nigeria, took to Twitter and said that some disciplines are better than others because these disciplines make their practitioners wealthier than others. He went on to exemplify his point by stating that doctors and engineers in the sciences tend to make more money than pastors, teachers, journalists, and others in the humanities. When I saw those tweets, I saw a young man who was very deficient in his mindset. The reason is because while it is true those in the sciences tend to make more money, it is the humanities that give us a stable society to even operate in where we can make that money. So if there is no government, if society is deficient of individuals steeped in the science of government, if society is bereft of God-fearing pastors and theologians who can help mold the moral fabric of the nation, if our journalists take bribe and will not report the truth, what happens is that society will someday degenerate into crisis, and those people you think earn more money because of their discipline will not be able to earn a kobo because there will be no society to operate in. Every discipline in life is equally important. A journalist could earn a lot more money than a doctor as long as the journalist is bringing value to the system where he operates in, and his employers are willing to reward him with a salary commensurate with his efforts. I begin this discussion today on the subject of the humanities and the sciences because since the invention of higher learning, science has come to realize that these two disciplines are interdependent. The crisis in the Middle East is a humanities problem. While the two sides, that is Iran and Israel, are employing the latest scientific machinery to wage the war, the underlying trouble between the two countries is understanding the theological framework that make up the two nations. Many Israelis practice Orthodox Judaism. This is not the religion that is based on, this is the religion that is based upon the biblical account from Genesis to Malachi. The Jews do not hold the New Testament as the word of God. So the New Testament is not part of the Jews' scriptures. Over the centuries, Jewish societies have evolved so much that the average Jew today does not practice Judaism, although they are committed to Israel as a nation politically. So whether living within the land of Israel itself or in diaspora, the Jews regard the land of Israel as their ancestral home, and it is. On the flip side, Iran is a Muslim nation that holds to Shia Islam as against Sunni Islam. The Shia Muslims are a lot more militant in their commitment to their religion than their Sunni colleagues. They hold to an eschatological fact that the end will not come until the nation of Israel is destroyed. Iran and Israel had historically been friendly. All this came with all the problem that we're witnessing today came with the theocracy of Ayatollah Khomeini, which he brought to Iran in 1979. Since that year, Iran has sought the extermination of Israel. Israel experienced its own 9/11 on October 7th, 2023, and they were convinced that Iran was the sponsor of the terrorists that invaded their land and killed no less than 1,300 people, taking others hostage. Israel has since moved into Gaza, where many Palestinians live, to hunt down Hamas. Israel has exterminated most of the people in the hierarchy of Hezbollah. They have silenced the Houthis rebels in Syria, and then they moved into Iran and mowed down many of the military men, including scientists, in what has now come to be known as a 12-day war. In today's broadcast, I'll be embarking on a monologue to answer a few frequently asked questions about the crisis between Israel and Iran. My name is Deji Yusufu. This is Reform Niger Television. You're welcome to today's broadcast. So for today's broadcast, we are owing our broadcast to the sponsorship of Lakim Investments. I want to quickly bring up their advert. They have a short-lived facility in Ikorodu, Lagos. Want to ask that if you live in Ikorodu, Lagos, and you need a place to stay, a night, 2 nights, a week, a month, or even a year, please, we ask that you patronize Lakim Investment. They are the ones that have kept us in business. You know, they are the ones that are sponsoring us. So please patronize Lakim Investment. In a moment, I'm going to bring up their advert. After we've taken their advert, then we'll need to look at this whole subject of Israel and Iran. The way I want to deal with it today is that I want to answer some frequently asked questions concerning the crisis. And I hope that the things that I'll be sharing with you will be helpful in the whole discussion that people are having on it. What we need more than ever is for people to be enlightened about the crisis. And like I said, those of us who are in the humanities, those of us who are pastors, we are part of the people who ensure that there is peace in our land. When we preach peace, when we encourage peace, when we encourage for people to love one another, to be committed to one another beyond religious lines, beyond tribal commitment, and so on, that will engender peace in our land. Okay, so I'm going to play the advert is out here. I'm going to play it now. Please patronize Lakim Investment. Okay, so that is Lakim Investment. I want to encourage you and plead with you, please patronize them. They are the ones that are keeping us in business. In a moment, we're going to go to our slides. I'm trying to put up the slides to this discussion. I hope I can have it done. Just give me a moment. So in a moment, we'll have our slides up. Just give me 1 minute because I really want you to follow the discussion and to see the things that I have to say about the whole subject. All right. So like I said, we have, I have about 6 or 7 frequently asked questions, and we'll just look at them and see how to answer every one of them in this discussion so that when we engage the issue in the public space, we can engage it as people who are knowledgeable, and then it can engender peace. Well, it's a dicey situation because it is more or less it has divided the world along Christian and Muslim lines. Christians tend to support Israel, and Muslims tend to support the Shiites. And that's it. But I think that if we're more informed about the situation, we will do otherwise. For some reason, I can't bring up my slides. Just give me 1 minute. I think I uploaded it. Just give me 1 minute. Slides are there. I believe I uploaded it this evening. For some reason, I'm not seeing it. Okay, so pending when it appears, just let me just refer to it. Let me just go straight to it and deal with it. Okay, so pending the time we get the slides out, the very first question that I think is just appropriate for us to answer is this: where are we in the crisis? So Donald Trump came out and made the point that he has chosen to name this war the 12-day war. Okay, and for it, we are hoping and praying that this crisis has come to an end, even though many people are convinced that there will still be retaliation in the future. But at least there is a temporary cease of fire. Okay, so I think it's important that we look at where we are with regards to what has happened so far. So what is happening right now concerning Iranian casualties? There's a group called Rana, HRANA. They reported that as of the 24th of June 2025, 974 people have been killed, including 268 military members, 387 civilians, and 319 unidentified persons. In total, some 3,458 people have been injured. The report goes on. Regional sources said that at least 20 senior commanders were killed in the strike. Confirmed casualties include Iranian Armed Force Chief of Staff Major General Mohammad Bagheri, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, I will call them IRGC from now on, the IRGC commander, Hosseini Salami, the IRGC senior commander, Ghulam Ali Rashid, and the IRGC commander, Amer Ali Hajazadeh. They've been killed. The IDF said that a strike on an underground command center killed most of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Aerospace Forces leadership after they had conveyed there for a meeting, including IRGC Air Force Commander Amer Ali Hajazadeh, as well as the leader of the IRGC Air Defense and Drone Unit. In total, the IDF reported killing at least 6 senior military commanders, including Bagheri, Salami, Ali Rashid, Hajizadeh, RGC Air Defense Unit Commander Davud Shakian, and RGC Drone Unit Commander Taha Paul. The New York Times reported that the death of Quad Forces Commander Esmail Khani, although Israel believes that he's still alive. According to Netanyahu, RGC intelligence chief Mohammed Kazemi and his deputy Hassan Mahake were also killed. Ali Shamkhani, a real admiral and member of the Expediency Disarmament Council, was reportedly killed in an airstrike on the 13th of June 2025. Shamkhani was one of the political appointees overseeing the 2025 United States-Iran negotiation. On the 16th of June, website citing Iranian media reports that Shamkhani survived, but required a leg amputation and suffered some organ damage. Iranian media confirmed on 20th of June that Shamkhani is still alive and in stable condition after recovering from severe injuries from the strike. The strike also took out nuclear scientists Abbasi and Mohammed Mehdi Taranchi were also killed, according to Iranian state media. News agency Sami News Agency later added 4 more scientists were killed. Israel named 9 nuclear scientists who it said were killed, including successor to Vazdaden, the chief Iran nuclear program, who was assassinated in 2020. 2 regional sources reported in 15th of June that the death toll of Iranian nuclear scientists has risen to 14, including some who were bombed. So the total people who have been confirmed killed in Iran are 974 people, with 268 military members. A lot of civilians were killed. For Israel fatalities on the 14th of June, David Adam reported that 63 people were injured in the Iranian ballistic missile strike, 1 in a critical condition, another in serious condition, and 8 were with moderate injuries, while the rest suffered minor wounds. 1 fatality was confirmed in Tel Aviv. Rescue team pulled 2 individuals alive from collapsed buildings. Later in the day, Walla News reported 3 Israelis were killed and 172 were injured. All 3 were killed in central Israel, in Ramat Gan and Rishon LeZion. 3 Jordanian civilians were also injured during the ceasefire. And in total, it's been reported that Israel has 29 people killed with 3,238 people injured. Now, the whole essence of reporting this is not to compare the number of deaths, but essentially to just let us have a picture of the situation on ground. Okay, so my slides are out now, and I'm going to begin to look at it. But before the slides arrive, I'm going to just begin to take the questions one after the other. I'm having some serious problem with my laptop here, but the questions I have the questions written down here. Now, the question that most people are asking, and that's the first question on my slide, is this. The United States has nuclear weapons. They also say that, they say Israel has nuclear weapons. Russia has nuclear weapons. Why is it that, what do they call it? Why is it that Iran cannot be permitted to have nuclear weapons? That is the why question that we have before us. Okay, I have that question here. I think it should be on slide 3. Now, I think the answer to that question is simply this. Jesus said in his word, he said that to him more is given, more is expected. The reason why I believe a lot of people, some people are given wealth, is because of the sense, it's because of the responsibility God has put into their hands. When you have nuclear weapons in your hand, a nuclear weapon or nuclear weapons should be held or owned by nations that have responsible government. That is what I think it should be. The history of the nuclear weapons in our world began in the Second World War. The Allied forces and the Axis forces, the Allied forces are Britain, America, France, Russia. The Axis were Germany, Japan, Italy, and others. Okay. Both of them were pursuing nuclear weapons. But America succeeded in getting the nuclear weapon before the Germans got theirs. If the Germans had laid their hands on the nuclear weapon, the war would have gone the other way. Okay. Now, despite the fact that America had a nuclear weapon, they did not use the nuclear weapon on Germany. Neither did they use it on any of the nations they were fighting. However, when Hitler committed suicide and Germany surrendered, America also called on Japan, that was supporting Germany, to surrender. To surrender. Okay, but Japan refused, and Japan continued to prosecute the war. America saw that if they are going to put men on ground, boots on ground, okay, and bring the war to an end by invading Japan forcefully, they calculated that they will lose at least 1 million men. And consider the fact that quite a number of men had died since America joined the war. I think that must have been 1941 or 1940. Okay, quite a number of men had died. Okay, America decided not to follow that option. President Harry S. Truman signed the document that was going to drop the nuclear bomb on Japan had not surrendered. So they dropped the first bomb, I think, on either Nagasaki or Hiroshima. I don't know which of them got the first one. And then they dropped the second one 3 days later. And immediately, Japan surrendered. Okay, so you see that America, they were like more or less, they had to use the nuclear weapon at that time, which was just newly developed, to bring an end to a crisis that claimed a lot of lives. There was a sense of responsibility behind it. Between 1967 and 1971, I believe America prosecuted the Vietnam War, where they were losing at some point, they were losing about, I believe, some 300 men every week. Okay, the total number of men that died in the Vietnam War, Americans that died, came to some 250,000 men or more. America did not use the nuclear weapon in that war, okay, because there was a sense of responsibility tied to it. Neither did they use it in the Korean War. Neither have they used it ever since. Russia has the nuclear weapon, and Russia has been prosecuting a war with Ukraine for close to some 5 years now, or 4 years. And Russia has not used the nuclear weapon on Ukraine. Okay, because of a sense of responsibility behind it. They have the nuclear weapon, but they cannot use the nuclear weapon. So what was my summation from this? My point is this. Number one, countries that don't have free and fair elections cannot have nuclear weapons. Okay? Countries that have corruption reeling everywhere, in their police system everywhere, cannot own nuclear weapons. Lastly, countries that are led by Islamic fundamentalists cannot have nuclear weapons. It's as simple as that. Okay? Nigeria has been waging war against Boko Haram since 2009. It is probably someday we'll get to know how much Iran has contributed to the crisis in the Northeast. I know that Iran operates in Niger and they have their units feeding these people in the Northeast. Okay, someday we'll get to know. All right, but as long as we have Islamic fundamentalism and people who are trying to overrun government, okay, illegally, such people cannot own nuclear weapons. Iran also cannot own a nuclear weapon because Iran has a commitment towards destroying. Iran has a commitment towards destroying Israel from the Middle East. So why should Iran not own nuclear weapons while others own? It's as simple as this. Nuclear weapons can only be held by responsible government. government where, where the people can speak and they will hear. Government where there is free press, okay, and things, and the freedom of opinion. All right. You cannot give nuclear weapons to rogue nations. You cannot give nuclear weapons to Iran. Neither can you give nuclear weapon to North Korea. All right. The second question that people have been asking is this: what is Nigeria's place in this crisis? Waiting concern Nigeria with all this. How does this affect the cost of Gari in the markets? Well, I've already told you the cost of fuel has gone from 850 to 950 naira per liter. So that is one way. Besides, Nigeria has been waging war against Islamic insurgency in the Northeast since 2009. Our soldiers have not succeeded in ridding this country of that violence. All right. Until they do that, or perhaps someday we'll come to know how much the threat or the work or the threat of Islamic insurgency or militant Islam, especially the one that is espoused by Iran. One day we'll get to know how much they contribute to the crisis in Nigeria. Okay. Besides, we have gotten to the point in our national life that we need to really discuss the place of the balance between Islam and Christianity. Okay, because the crisis in the Northeast, especially with Boko Haram, I suspect has continued this long because there is a tacit support of these people in northern Nigeria. I've spoken to a few people and they tell me that this support these insurgents enjoy is not even coming from locals alone, that some highly placed people, lawyers, businessmen, support these people indirectly. All right. And I have, in my previous broadcast, I have traced the militant root of Islam. I've shown that there is a way, even the Quran and the Hadiths can be interpreted to make people come to the conclusion that Nigeria must be taken over by Islamic fundamentalists. Okay, so as long as we have the crisis in the Middle East affects Nigeria directly because it is a reflection. What is happening between Israel and Iran is that Israel is a modern state, is a progressive state, is a state that is seeking, modernity. All right. Iran, on the other hand, is a theocratic system. All right. And what is happening is that there's a clash between the East and the West. And that is what has produced the crisis we're having. There's a clash. All right. In many other countries, many other Islamic countries like Saudi Arabia, many others, many of them have reconciled themselves, and Dubai and the UAE and so on. They have reconciled themselves to the fact that they can actually practice their Islam or their religion without being antagonistic to Western values, Western worldview, or Western systems and democracy and all of that. They have reconciled, but Iran has not. It's the same thing that is happening in Nigeria. In Southwest Nigeria, you have many Muslims who have accepted it, that look, we can actually practice our religion within a Western system. But there are many people who do not. And that is why we still continue to have this insurgency in the country. So as long as we have militant Islam in Nigeria, we have Boko Haram and all of that, whatever is happening in the Middle East concerns us also. A third question. Now, how do we respond to our Muslim neighbors? So I've been able to show to us that this matter of the Middle East concerns us directly. Militant Islam is a serious issue. It's a debate that we must sort out in our national life. Okay, we must be able to help our Muslim, and this is how to respond to our Muslim neighbors. We must be able to help our Muslim neighbors to appreciate the fact that, look, other progressive Islamic nations have been able to accept Western values, Western education, Western worldview. They have, in fact, many of these Islamic militants who go around saying Boko is haram or Western values is haram, it's not acceptable or is condemned by Quran. Many of them they don't use swords, they don't use bow and arrow. Okay, in fact, there's a report in the news that says that today Boko Haram they have air power. They have gotten helicopters with which they prosecute what they are doing. Okay, some of them have drones that they are using against the Nigerian military. Okay, if they think Boko is a ram, why are they using modern development? Okay, so our Muslim neighbors must come to appreciate some of these things. They must come to appreciate the fact that there is they can reconcile their religion, okay, with modern values. But at the same time, they can even go a step further and see that how much has the Muslim world, or even the Quran and the Hadiths and all of that, how much have they contributed to modern development? Because at the root of scientific development, at the root of modern political systems as we have today, is Christianity, is a Christian worldview. It's at the root of it. Okay, so if Christianity can give us all of this, perhaps our Muslim neighbors can consider Christianity as a religion. So what is happening actually is actually evangelism. In fact, in those days, that Muslims will not, from what we have in the history, Muslims will not sit down with you and debate over whether their religion is true or not. They won't. But it is Christianity that has called all of us and introduced something called tolerance, and has called all of us to weigh the evidence. Look at our scriptures, look at our history, look at our lives. Okay, see which one is better, which one is more productive, which one is adding to our national life, and then follow that path. All right. So that's what Christianity that has done that, and hopefully our Muslim neighbors are seeing it. In fact, I used to have a Muslim neighbor who lives here. I mean, just in my 4-flat apartment here. And I noticed the guy that he has grown-up children. In fact, all of his children have finished university. They've gone out of the house. The guy has one wife. One wife. Why did he not marry more? Okay, why? Simply because he has looked at how many Christians operate in their homes, and they realize that, look, monogamy is what is most practical as far as marriage is concerned. That's what's more practical. This whole idea of marrying 2, 3, 4 wives is not practical. It's not possible to love all the 4 of them the same way. It's not possible. So if you're going to really follow, follow religion, marriage the way it is, you have to follow marriage the way the scripture, the Bible prescribes it. Besides, I see many of them taking their children to school now these days so that they don't have Christian influences in those schools. They have all started, also many of them have started creating schools. They have secondary schools now, they have universities, they have primary schools that they send their children to be educated. Why didn't they just sit with the Quran? It's because they've come to realize that there's some advantage in it. So those are some of the things that our Muslim neighbors can learn from this crisis. So we look at the last question. Now, in all of these things, one of the things that I have seen that has come out to me is this subject, the matter of militancy. I have realized, because thank God for seminary, I've done a lot of study of church history. I realized that a lot of things that Islam is experiencing today, Christianity has experienced it some 200, 300 years ago. Today, Islam is going through a renaissance because of the internet. We're able to read the Quran in English. We're able to read the Hadiths. What happened to Christianity was that in the 17th and 18th century, people began to have the liberty to criticize the Bible. So that by the time we come into the 19th century, a lot of Europeans who used to be Christians began to abandon the church. I've heard of people who have 2, 3 generations before in Europe, in Germany, in England, who had never gone to church before. Okay, so the same thing is happening to Islam. Islam is experiencing a renaissance. Okay, but what happened to Christianity was that Christianity also used to be militant. Okay, in the days of the Protestant Reformation, to preserve the Roman Catholic movement and all of that, the Catholics had to capture a lot of Protestants, killed some of them through torture and so on. They exacted me. I mean, there was war. There's the 30-year war between 1618 and 1648 that destroyed about a third of Germany, okay, and killed a lot of people. By the end of the day, Europe came to understand that there was a need for tolerance, okay, and then they say, okay, what's going to happen is that some countries will just call themselves, or some cities will call themselves Catholic, and some will call themselves Protestant. So if you're Protestant, you simply wouldn't live in a Catholic city. You go to a Protestant city. Because when America came to be, in the 17th, 18th century, that they allow for freedom of religion. And that's why till tomorrow, America has it in their constitution that there's a separation between church and state. Everybody has freedom to practice whatever they want to practice. Okay? Now, it is this matter of militant Christianity that I addressed in an article I wrote recently in Text and Publishing, where I said, I titled the article "Reformed Ayatollah." Okay, and in it, I pointed out the fact that the same kind of militancy you see in Shia Islam, you can actually see it in Christians also. The same kind of militancy, and that we must, by all means, avoid it. What am I talking about? This man who started the theocracy of Iran, his name is Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. He started the theocracy in 1979. He died in 1989. The man, I watched a documentary on him. He was an upright man. Okay, he had one wife. He was known to be very disciplined. Okay, he wasn't given to all of these excesses. People knew he was an upright man. Okay, that was it. And he has since passed on that tradition to all the people who have succeeded in. Even the present Ayatollah, I believe, is the same kind, upright, straightforward. They don't commit sin. Upright man. All right, but there's a problem with that kind of lifestyle. And I've seen it among many Christians who tend to want to take their confidence from what they do, from their actions, from their self-righteousness. Such people have a militancy towards religion. Okay. And that's what I wrote. I talked about, that's what I wrote. I had to glean from the story of Alistair Begg. Alistair Begg, by the way, he has retired from pastoral work. He retired in the first week of June. He was supposed to retire in September, but he moved the retirement 3 months earlier. I think they got a successor for him. Okay, and I referred back to the controversy around him, how some militant Christians were condemning him and tearing him down because of an advice he gave to a grandmother about the homosexual daughter. All right, so I pointed out at that time, I said that, I agreed with Begg. I said this was Phariseeism, and what comes out of Phariseeism is militancy. This insistence on everybody doing religion the way you do it. Okay, this tendency towards lack of freedom. You do not give people the liberty to come to know God themselves. This insistence that it must work by our creed. If it doesn't work by our creed, it is not acceptable. This exclusive tendency towards religion. We alone are the ones serving God. Others are not. That kind of spirit is what you find with the Pharisees, is what you find with the Ayatollahs, is what you find with militant Christianity. We must be aware of it. Okay. And even those of us who are reformed, who know all of these great, wonderful doctrines, also have a tendency towards it. I warned, I said, I'm not saying that I do not believe in denominations. Till tomorrow, I'm Reformed Baptist. I'm committed to the confessions. But I believe that Christ can appear to people in different ways in the name of Jesus. And we must allow people to come to know God at their own pace. It must not be dictated at ours. So we must beware of this kind of militant religion. That's what has led Shiite Islam to what it is, insisting that Israel must be destroyed. If Israel is not destroyed, then their Mahdi or whatever will not come, and then the end will not come. They will not go to heaven. Okay, so they tie the future, their theological future or their eschatological future, to the existence of Israel, and that is what is fueling the crisis. We have not seen the end. We have not seen the end. They're very likely going to, because what they call it? Iran lost so many people, and they will come back for revenge. Okay. So what is the whole point of all of this discussion? It's very simple. But let me grab some water as I try to bring this to a close. In one of the discussions that I had on this subject, I don't know whether it was the first or the second, I talked about something that happened in 1865 in Nigeria. Bishop Samuel Ajayi Crowther was carrying out mission in Badagry. He was also carrying out missions somewhere in Ogun State, in the Egbai area of Ogun State. But he found out that Lagos State, they're not Lagos State now, but Eko, Lagos, was closed to the gospel. The reason was because the king then, I think it must have been Oba Kosoko, was against the preaching of the gospel. Not because he didn't like the idea. It was simply because he knew that if his people imbibed Christianity, they will bring an end to slavery in the land. So what he did was that he opposed the missionaries and said they couldn't carry out missions in Lagos. So the Christians discussed amongst themselves, and it was agreed that Bishop Ajayi Crowther should go to Britain and to England and speak to the politicians there about what they could do to free Lagos from the hegemonical hold of the king over that city or over that town. Okay, and one morning, very early in the midnight, ships bombarded the ports of Lagos, throwing cannons, and the Oba was chased away from the town. A new Oba was installed, and the missionaries came in and they did their job. What am I talking about? There's a providence of God connected between modern government that was influenced by Christianity and the gospel. Now, if we have an Islamic theocracy ruling Nigeria, I can assure you there will be no church, there will be no preaching, there will be no nothing Christianity. Okay? But modern government has permitted not the preaching of the gospel, but the freedom of opinions. That's the difference. That's the difference between an Ayatollah and a modern government. There's a freedom of opinions, so that in a society, people can proselyte and talk to people about their ideas. And then those who are traditionalists can talk to people about their traditional worship and win proselytes. Those who are Christians can talk to people. Those who are Muslim can talk to people. And everybody has their own following. Okay? A society that insists on one opinion is a society that is narrow-minded, is a society that cannot develop. One of the reasons why America is so strong today is because America allows for freedom of opinions much more than any other country in the world. All right? So the gospel flourishes in a place where opinions, there's liberty, there's freedom. And people I can go out today and I can preach the gospel and nobody will arrest me for it. But if you are in an Islamic theocracy, it will not happen. That is the point we're going to. Christians for many years have been praying for the Middle East. We have been pleading with God and asking that the gospel reach the Middle East. Churches will be planted in hitherto Muslim lands. All right. It is not going to happen in an Islamic theocracy. It is going to happen in a place where there is freedom of religion, freedom of opinion, freedom of gathering. This thing called freedom, this thing called liberty is biblical, because that's what Galatians 5:1 says, that in Christ we have liberty. You have freedom to be who you are, as long as your freedom does not infringe on the freedom of another person, or your freedom does not lead you to breaking the laws of the land. There is freedom. Okay? And where there's freedom, people have liberty to think. You can decide to be an astronaut, you can decide to be a fisherman, you can decide to be a farmer, you can decide to work with government. There is freedom. But when in a society, and that was what happened with communists, they were insisted that everybody must do things like this. Everybody must, everywhere you have the freedom of people constrained, there can't be growth, there can't be prosperity, there can't be commerce, there can't be exchange of ideas. Look at what happened in Fordo. This thing that America carried out in Iran, they have been planning it since 2009. The very moment the Iranians laid the foundation of their first bunker in Fordo, Americans had already seen it. The moment they laid the bunker, they had already seen it. And one young man stayed on that project and developed a particular bomb that could destroy a bunker that was at 500 meters down into the ground. And that was what he committed himself and his colleagues to. And they were doing it. And they were doing it until a day came and Donald Trump asked the military, do you have a weapon that can do the job? They said, yes. They have somebody who has been doing the work all this while. And prompto, they did it. They cleared it. And the Americans told the world, they said they have kept their eyes on every other country who have similar things around. Even in Nigeria, I am convinced the American institutions that are keeping an eye on what people are doing, including those of us who are on social media, who are propounding theories. The moment you begin to do something, they will keep an eye on you. The moment you turn this way, they will get you. Okay? So what am I saying? I'm saying that the principle of freedom permits for people to be who they want to be. Okay? And as they do that, they grow at their own rate, they grow in their understanding, they will add to society. There's prosperity, there's commerce, there's all kinds of things. But where a society, everybody, is being constrained, say you must do it this way, you must do it that way, you must do it this way. That is what leads to retrogression and all of that. Okay? So I have been discussing about the 12-day war. I have looked at the crisis between Iran and Israel. Tried to see the aftermath. At the beginning of this discussion, I read out the number of casualties. You can check it out. Okay, and I've tried to come to that conclusion. That Iran is better off without a nuclear weapon, simply because they are not a responsible government. Okay, the day Nigeria also can carry out free and fair election, and we become responsible in the way we handle power, perhaps we too can begin to look at nuclear weapons. My name is Deji Yesufu. I pastor Providence Reformed Baptist Church. If you want to get to know more about our local church, please send me an email at nigerreformed@gmail.com. nigerreformed.com will give you direction to our fellowship. Thank you very much for joining our broadcast. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please subscribe to it, share the video, and please join us in our next broadcast. On Wednesday, by God's grace, we'll be having our brother Oluwasegun come to talk to us about pastors and teachers. It's an article he published on Text and Publishing recently. You want to be there. Thank you very much for joining us, and God bless you. Bye-bye.